Welcome back to Apatros Review. In this episode, Critters, a 1986 sci-fi horror cult classic. Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. I'm your host, Miller Sipka, and join me as I take you on a ride through the wild world of science fiction action horror, all from a personal DVD collection of about 1,200 DVDs, plus a few Blu-rays, video games, TV shows, books even. Now, in this episode, by the way, happy Father's Day to every father on the planet. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, sitting in, drinking the beer, eating the pizza, doing stuff with power tools, watching sport, whatever. Now, every father deserves a little bit of a present. Now, in this episode, we look at the film Critters, which was a 1986 science fiction horror film, or far more of a kid-friendly film. It was, at the time when it came out, it was pretty much a bomb on theatrical release. But it's on the video store shelves, it pretty much became a hit. And it's pretty easy to see why. It's actually it's a kid-friendly film. In fact, it's sort of like a children's film in essence. It was actually meant as a rip-off of the Gremlins films, but originally. But the thing is, I heard that the script for Critters was actually approved before Gremlins came out. Interesting. And it's also came out sort of like to counter the success of E.T. In fact, there's a scene in the film where one of the creatures actually bites the head off an E.T. doll after trying to chat a conversation with it. Now, the film was released here in Australia through Roadshow Entertainment originally, and then later through Warner Brothers and New Line Home Video. There are Blu-rays available of this overseas. I mean, in America, all four of the original films came out on Blu-ray with extras and stuff. So if you want to just go for those. But the original Australian DVD release from Roadshow is pretty decent too. Now, after the surprise success of Wes Craven's landmark supernatural slasher film A Nightmare on Elm Street, New Line Cinema suddenly found itself emerging as a leading player on the genre scene. It also gave them the ability to take risks that would make other studios balk. Their chance of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy would pay them well. In 1986, they decided to mount their own knockoff of Joe Dante's children's horror classic Gremlins, something that would give New Line Cinema another enduring B-grade franchise, the Critters series. The film starts with a litter of krites, small alien furballs with teeth and a terminal hunger for anything that moves, escaping from an alien asteroid prison by means of a stolen spaceship. The warden of the prison, basically a guy in a floating orb with a made-up Darth Vader helmet under his skin, knowing full well that what will happen if the krites reach a civilized planet, sends two polymorphic bounty hunters to intercept the creatures and stop them before they can feed. Meanwhile on Earth, in the small Kansas town of Grover's Bend, former baseball player Charlie McFadden is spending his days drinking at night and spending his days working on the farm of Jane and Helen Brown. He is also a good friend of the Browns' son Brad, who is always playing pranks with his older sister April. Whilst trying to fix Brad's slingshot, Charlie accidentally uses it to hit April in the butt with a stone, but in order to prevent him being fired, Brad confesses to save his friend, which gets Brad grounded for a while. The krites manage to land near the Browns' farm at night, and probably decide to feast on the local cattle before heading to the Browns' homestead to harass them. Meanwhile, the bounty hunters arrive close by and search for the creatures in the nearby town Grover's Bend. Their shape-shifting nature and excessive trigger fingers on their overpowered blasters ending up demolishing parts of the town. This gives Charlie a chance to prove himself as the hero of the hour. While not quite up to the standards that Gremlins set, however, Critters makes for a fun popcorn muncher that children will like, mainly to see plenty of nastily cute little furballs, and by the way, these are some really decent puppets. I mean, the whole film was made of practical effects back in the 80s, and the critters look very convincing. They look kind of cute, despite being nasty. You know, the kids will see these furballs wreaking havoc in a small town. It also has some very clever writing, particularly in the bounty hunter's appearance, as they try to mimic the local townsfolk, something that gets them up to the next in trouble, and their somewhat overpowered weapons that cause massive destruction, and on opposite attempts at saving the day. And these bounty hunters, they apparently on their spaceship, they have a whole database about Earth, but not the necessary stuff. It's a bit like going to one of those university courses where they teach you really crappy subjects and nothing that will help you in the real world. Now, while not exactly a classic film in any sense, Critters is basically the cinematic version of a fast food restaurant standard burger value meal. Nothing that will give you any real nutrition, but does feel appetizing enough and probably worth a second or third viewing. Or more, it depends if you're a fan. The film didn't, like I mentioned before, the film didn't make much of an impact in theatrical release, but made its modest reputation on VHS shelves, with a reshot ending that had the bounty hunters repair the Brown's family house. Now, the Roadshow Entertainment DVD actually has the alternate ending on it. I'll explain how to access it later. The film did so much business that prompted New Line to greenlight 3 variable sequels, 2 of which went straight to video. A 4th sequel, Critters Attack, followed up a good 25 or so years later. A couple of years ago it came out. Sharp-eyed viewers will notice the audio cassette covers in the scene where Billy Zane gets killed. Yes, Billy Zane's in this, with hair. Basically, Critter takes him out in the stomach. And if you notice, one of those audio cassettes actually has the title Herrick Chainsaw Massacre, reference to Stephen Herrick, the director of the film, who also went on to make Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And there's also a cute side gag where Critter has a conversation with a plush E.T. doll before biting its head off. Now for the gore. Being a 1980s PG-13 film gives it some license to provide some slight gore and swearing in this that would not appear in today's PG-13 films. There's even the Critters actually swear. One of them says the F word, fucking, in its alien language. As subtitles. There are some bloody faces and a skeletonized cow which provide the modicum of gore that this film has. There's no nudity here, although the Brown's daughter makes out with the new king class Billy Zane, the early role he probably regrets before he gets eaten by a critter. Critters pretty much earns a B rating from me, a 6 out of 10. It's a solid little slice of kiddie horror from the awesome decade-long genre catalog of the 1980s. It's a fun little film for kids of today to enjoy without any real trouble on the parents' part. Although the film is rated M here in Australia, but that allows under 15s to watch. Now for the DVD. This was released in Australia on DVD twice. First for Roadshow Entertainment, this is also my review copy. For this prop I used was actually the American VHS cover I managed to scan off. I lost the cover a long time ago. And then for Warner Home Video as part of their range of New Line titles. The Roadshow disc has a picture and sound quality that is as solid as the movie itself. Aside from some mild grain on rare occasions and slightly less than the normal shadow detail, both can be attributed to the original film stock. This one doesn't really have any big issues to report. There are 2 soundtracks on the disc, English and Dolby Digital 5.1 and the original stereo track, and both sound pretty clean. There are also 2 sets of English subtitles, well actually the standard English hard of hearing track and the English captions, which are pretty redundant, one being enough for the job, and trailers for all 4 classic Critters films that include, as well as an alternate ending, which is the original ending where the Browns leave that destroyed house and farm, only for the camera to head to the barn and find a nest of eggs that Critters laid there. This was replaced for the video print with the now standard ending where the bounty hunters repair the Browns' house, complete with credits. In order to access this just on the menu, just press the down button on your remote until the Critter's eyes turn red, and then press enter. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Like, I do these reviews like every 3 days or so. I don't do requests, but if you want to know if I have a certain film in my collection, just hit me up in the comments section, and I'll answer. Hope you guys are staying safe. Enjoy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And that's it for this review.